Sources of Vitality in American Church Life. Edited by Robert L. Moore. This volume is one of the publications in the Studies in Ministry and Parish Life series published by the Exploration Press of the Chicago Theological Seminary. Contents. Preface. In every time, the Church must be concerned with the appropriate relationship between the cultural and religious situation in which it finds itself, and the forms with which it attempts to meet the divine imperative embodied in its contemporary context. Our time is no different. This volume represents the attempt of the faculty of the Chicago Theological Seminary and its guests both to assess the religious situation in 1978 and to reflect on the forms through which the Church may respond in responsible and adequate ways to the challenge which it represents. There is no doubt that many sources of vitality are emerging in the pluriform culture in which the American Church must minister. The Judeo-Christian heritage has, however, always brought a critical eye to bear on the monstrous forms which are often generated when primordial religious impulses are not ordered by ethical reflection and communal regulation. One way of characterizing the contemporary challenge of the Church is to focus the question of how to bring to birth a viable postmodern and post-critical form of Christian faith and church life. One of the great strengths of the liberal church has been its refusal to avert its eyes from the truths which the Enlightenment and the subsequent modernization process have enabled us to see. Pre-modern religious forms and their contemporary vestiges are still, if uncritically embraced, powerful tools in the hands of those who would infantilize humanity and have us regress to the lobotomized security of an enforced, authority-based certainty. We cannot, of course, view such a regression to the pre-modern as a viable option for the contemporary church. Still, we cannot be unmindful of the price which an equally uncritical embrace of the cultural forms of modernity has exacted from the household of faith. The Pilgrim Church now finds itself in the midst of Eliot's wasteland, and the spiritual vertigo which we have been experiencing in recent decades has led us to question whether we will find our way through the increasing nihilism of our age. This volume is one expression of our conviction that there is a way, and that we are called not to retreat from our encounter with the acids of modernity, but to move through them to a postmodern, post-critical reappropriation of the Judeo-Christian tradition. Our time, then, is one of significant transitions, both for the culture and for the church. Like all such times, it is characterized by both great peril and promise. Certainly, the attempt to get back to religious and ethnic roots could prove to be an escapist response reflecting exhaustion and an accompanying failure of commitment to social transformation. With caring and careful leadership, however, we may learn ways to tap the energies of tradition and experience, which can revitalize our ministry of liberation. Each of the essays in this volume addresses some aspect of our common task, assessing the current cultural and religious milieu, calling our attention to possible sources of vitality for the church as it attempts to respond creatively to this context, and warning us of the continued importance of critical discernment as we seek fitting forms for ministry at this time. Clyde Manschreck analyzes the way in which the cultural complex we know as modernity has led to an increasing growth of nihilism in contemporary culture. Wydick Schrader and Shelby Rooks offer reflections on the characteristics of contemporary American society which form the context for the struggle of the church to find fitting forms for its ministry. Robert Moore and Perry Lefevre assess the significance of the, quote, new religious consciousness and its accompanying emphasis on practical spirituality. Michael Novak and James Wallace weigh the impact of an increasing ethnic consciousness and evangelical resurgence as important factors in the search for new ways to ground social transformation. Barbara Ziekmund calls upon us to view the feminist movement as a resource rather than as a threat. And Phil Anderson reminds us of the qualities of openness and caring which will be required if we are to respond rather than merely react amid the stresses of transition. Robin Scroggs offers us a model for the post-critical study of the New Testament, while André Lecoq warns us against an uncritical embrace of current tendencies toward the sacralization of nature. Finally, Theodore Jennings focuses our task as that of the development of context and models of Christian maturity, pointing us to the unique resources of the mainline churches and offering guidelines for our response. These essays are not offered as either a comprehensive analysis of the religious situation in 1978 or as a program for response. They will nevertheless provide the reader with insight into the complexity of both that situation and the task of responding creatively to it. They reflect our belief that our critical and analytical abilities must be not merely retained but refined as we seek to test the spirits of contemporary religious fervor. Yet, they also reflect the necessity for openness to the possibility that the Spirit may be speaking to us in subtle ways, which, if we learn how to listen, may bear good news in strange forms. Robert L. Moore.